Hi, welcome to the Socks for Mom podcast. I am coming to you today from a beautiful Colorado. I'm here visiting my daughter right now. It's beautiful and sunny. I'm out in her sunroom, so I'm hoping there's not too much of an echo. I hear myself echoing, but I have a microphone here that I hope will filter out some of that echo. But it's been a while. I think it's been 3 weeks since my last podcast. I've been here for a week and it's just been wonderful, but I'll tell you more about that at the end. But welcome, my name is Becky. I am Socks for Mom, and that's where you can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry, where we have a podcast group. So thank you for stopping by today. This podcast is mostly about making by sewing, making by spinning, weaving, and lots of knitting. And that is what I'll be talking to you about today. This should be a short episode because I only brought a couple things with me on this trip, and I've been a very good girl. I have not bought a lot since I've been here, but I will show you what I have bought because I of course have visited one of my favorite knitting stores, Fancy Tiger Crafts. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. But let's get started. I have finished the next sock in the Wonderland Sock Club. I've had 12 incredible testers from all over the world, really. I've had probably 3 ladies from Germany, 1 lady from New Zealand, someone from Finland, someone from Canada, some Americans. We have bridged some communication gaps, and as a result, I've learned a new way to knit socks because I thought the magic loop method that I used was what most people used, and I found out it was not. And I will be telling you about that. But without further ado, here is the next sock. It's called the Handsome Pig Sock. And it's called that because in the Alice in Wonderland book, Alice is walking along and she picks up what she thinks is a baby wrapped up in a blanket. And she's walking along and she notices it has a rather funny nose, and then it has rather squinty eyes, and eventually she unwraps the blanket and discovers it's a pig, not a baby. And she says, well, but it's a right handsome pig. So these are the Handsome Pig socks. I actually like them better on self-striping yarn, but they have knit up beautifully in all kinds of yarns with my testers, and I hope to insert some photographs at the end of this of some of their socks if they will give me permission. But here they are. This is by far the simplest pattern so far in the Wonderland Sock Club. It comes in 3 sizes. Small is 56 stitches, medium is 64, and large is 72. It has a simple slip stitch pattern to create this little texture right here. It has, of course, an eye of partridge hill, which I'll show you in just a second. That's always my favorite. And it has a rounded toe, where you basically divide your toe into some segments and work decreases down like you would do on the top of a hat. So, I knit these on a size 0, 64 stitches, and they fit me perfect. The first one I knit was in the yarn that I bought for the Handsome Pig pattern, and it turned out pretty loose. And I'm actually probably going to either give this to my daughter or frog it and knit it smaller because it's a little bit too loose for my liking. And this was done on the same stitch count, 64 stitches with 2.25 millimeter needles. I think this pattern will help with textured yarn to make little pops of color. But it's basically a vanilla sock. It goes very fast. Several of the knitters knit it in a day, and I found mine went very fast. I think it only took 2 days. But here is the Eye of Partridge Hill, which I just love that. It is by far my favorite hill. Now, partway through the testing, I rewrote the pattern so that the stitches are divided evenly on the front needle and the back needle, which will allow you to substitute whatever hill you want. If you prefer a German short row hill, you can substitute that in. Or if you like a fish lips hill, you can substitute that easily. One of the ladies knit a boomerang hill, which is unfamiliar to me. So anyways, this sock, I am putting the pictures in the pattern. The pattern will be available Friday, which is tomorrow. Is it April 1st? I'm not sure what tomorrow's date is. It's Good Friday. And it will be available on Ravelry for $2.50. Or if you prefer a bit of a bargain, you can get the Wonderland Sock Club. This is the 3rd sock. There are 6 patterns that will be released, and there are 2 freebies that are already in there along with that. So right now there will be 5 patterns with 3 more to come. So I wanted to share a couple things with you about what I learned. First of all, I wanted to share with you a huge mistake I made so that you will know that I am not one that doesn't make mistakes. So I was knitting along the 2nd sock and I got to the Eye of Partridge Hill and it worked fine. And then I got to the hill turn and it did not work. And I thought, oh dear, I have written this wrong. And how is it that 12 socks came out okay and mine is not coming out okay? Either they're not telling me something or I've made a mistake. And I could not for the life of me figure out what was going on until I realized that I did not have enough stitches. I had more stitches on the back than I had on the front. And I counted and I thought, must have dropped a couple stitches, could not figure out anywhere that I had dropped stitches. And my count was wrong. I kept counting all the way up. My count was still wrong. And then I noticed this. Can you see that? Well, with a knit 2, purl 2, on the stitch counts that I have made this sock, that should not have happened. There are 4 stitches right there. This is a rookie mistake of the hugest kind, and I made it in the cast on. I cast on 62 stitches, not 64. It happens. So I am frogging this. I am the only one without a complete pair. And I actually have some yarn at home that I just got from Sweet Sparrow Knits that I think I really want to knit this pattern up in. That's kind of reminds me of a pig, the colors. So anyways, if you're interested in that pattern, head on over to Ravelry and check it out. The pattern is called Handsome Pig. Now, let me tell you what I learned. So when I knit magic loop I will knit the cuff down. I will knit the cuff, and then when I get to the heel flap, I will knit the heel flap, and at that point I will bisect the sock completely in half. So on the right, the front needle, I will have half of the heel. Let me do it this way, because this is really how it would look on my needle. I would have half of the stitches. I would pick up the gusset stitches, and then I would work the decreases like this, where I knit across half of the heel, work the decrease in the gusset, then knit across half of the instep, flip it around to the other needle, work across half the instep, decrease down on the gusset, and so forth, like that. So I have bisected my sock in half like this. And then when I finish the gusset, I simply rearrange the stitches like this, with the sole stitches on the back needle and the instep stitches on the front. Well, there was some confusion in the pattern. They were not understanding why I only knit a few of the instep stitches, and through the dialogue process, I discovered that there is another way to knit magic loop, and I tried it and I actually love it. And that way is to have just your instep stitches on one needle. On the back needle, you have your heel stitches, and then you have both of the gussets on either side of that. And so all you do is work your gusset decrease, work your heel, go up here, work your other gusset decrease, flip it around, and only work the instep. I am very interested to see how you guys work your magic loop, because I've rewritten the pattern because I actually really like this way. So what I want to do today is, I have this sock bag. Let me get it here. That I've shown before. It's a Wonderland sock bag. And I would like you in the comments below to let me know how you work your socks. When you do magic loop, do you bisect the sock in half and have the left half on one needle and the right half on the other when you get to the gusset decreases? Or do you do it like my European friends do, where they have the heel and both gussets on one needle and the instep stitches on the other? So if you leave a comment below and let me know that. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a thread in my Ravelry group, the Socks for Mom podcast, and you let me know which way you knit your socks. And I will draw for this. I'm supposed to have already drawn and given this bag away, and I have spaced it out. But since it will help me a lot to know how knitters knit their socks as I go forward developing patterns, I would like to know the answer to that question. So head on over to the Ravelry group and answer that question, and I will draw for this next time, I promise. I know I should have done it already. So anyways, that is the Wonderland Sock Club. Now let me move on to some other things I've been doing. I brought this project along, and the other project I brought along is my Fern and Feather Sweater. I need to get it. Now, this is the sweater by Jen Steingass, and she is Knit Love Wool on Ravelry. And if you have not heard about the March Madness for knitters, where knitters nominate patterns that they love this year, and you continue to vote all the way down. This sweater right here is in the runoff with one other sweater for the best yoke sweater of the year. And I am loving this sweater. Now my goal this year is, I am trying very hard not to make any yarn purchases. I want to knit up the yarn that I have, the sweater quantities of yarn that I have for sweaters, which really isn't that much. But I do have a lot of fingering weight yarn, so I'm good to go for that. So I went to Fancy Tiger Crab and I bought something. I bought a bag that I've been wanting for a very long time. I almost bought it over Christmas and I didn't, but it's the Fringe Supply bag. I got the dark charcoal, I think. And I do see why people love this bag. It's great. It holds a lot. But let me show you my Fern and Feather. I've worked the waist decreases and I am now about to increase out for the hips. It is a very heavy sweater. It's made with Cascade 220, and as I said before, I think in Texas I will just be wearing it on my walks outside because it is a heavy sweater. Of course, all this up here is double because you're stranding across it, but I really do love it. For the short rows, you work short rows, so that is why you will see the back is taller than the front, because after you work the yoke, you actually work back and forth working short rows. I think the formula is if it's worsted weight, you work it 3 or 4 times. If it's fingering weight, you work it 5 or 6 times. And I picked Japanese short rows because I really like them. It's similar to a wrap and turn, only you don't wrap. You actually put a pin on the running thread in between 2 stitches. And then when you go to pick up those, where you would pick up wraps, you lift up that running stitch and put it on your needle and knit it together. I think it's a tidier way. Anyways, it's my preference. You can use whatever. So here it is. Let me see what else I can tell you about it. Not much, other than I hope to be done in a couple weeks. I think is what I'm estimating it will take me to finish up. And then I've got other plans. As I said, I want to knit down my stash. And I have some Cascade Heather 220 in this really pretty orange. It's called Province. And it's heathered. So it's actually a little lighter weight than the 220 non-heathered. Now, I love orange. But when you have 2 daughters, they usually let you know fashion things. And one of my daughters told me that she didn't think orange was really my color. And so she gave me a little bit of help, and I really ended up changing a lot of my colors. But I used to wear a lot of orange and brown. And this is my happy color. I do like this color. And I've decided to go ahead and knit it because I will be happy when I'm wearing this, whether I look good or not. If I look horrible, you know, who cares? I'm at that age where I'm a red hat lady, so those of you who are my age, you know what that means. We're kind of above, I shouldn't say above, that's the wrong word. We're beyond really caring whether we're in style or not. We wear what we like to wear. So I have picked this pattern by Isabel Kramer. She's new to me, but I tell you what, I just heard about her on a podcast, and I looked, and there is this beautiful, very comfortable sweater. It's called Alias. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. There it is right there. And what I really liked about it was this collar up here. And I like these bell sleeves right there. It's a very unusual construction, and that also appealed to me because I like to learn new things. I believe you start up here with the shoulders, kind of like, well, I'm not sure. I'll let you know when I get there. So it just so happens that Cascade 220 Heather is one of the suggested yarns. Has a really pretty cable going down the front. Here's another detail right there. And so I went ahead, I brought this yarn to swatch with. And now typically when I knit, I'm a loose knitter, and I have to knit on a smaller needle because of that. So I was very surprised when I knit my first swatch. I knit 2 swatches here. Here they are. And my first swatch showed right off the bat that I needed to go up a needle size. So I've actually gone up to a size 8. And I'm wondering, because I really have found myself knitting more continental than English throwing. And I'm thinking that maybe making my gauge tighter. So I may have to readjust some things, but I was actually very surprised that I didn't come in, that I've had to adjust my needle size up that way. Anyways, this is swatched, it's ready to go. I'm resisting casting on till I'm done with my Fern and Feather, but I know what I'll be doing next. That is my next project I want to work on. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I bought at the Fancy Tiger Craft. Fancy Tiger Crafts, this is it. Now I just saw Christy Glass went there when she was recording for Craftsty, because Crafsty's recorded in Denver, and she went to that shop and visited it. So anyways, I bought my Fringe Supply Company bag. And it was hard for me to pick a color because they had charcoal, they had a light gray, they had camo, and they had natural and royal blue. And I recently read on Andrea Mowry. I read on her blog that this is her favorite bag, and she actually has them in all colors, and I really do like this bag. I could see myself getting more. It has a drawstring. On the inside it has these grommets, so you can do color work. And on the other side, there are pockets. I don't know how well you can see this. I think in my next podcast, I'm going to show you what I like to carry in my bags. Anyways, I bought that, and my whole sweater will fit inside of it. like I said, it's deceptive in that it does hold more than what you think it holds. And the other thing I bought while I was there, I was a very good girl. I wanted to try this. It's a Lanolin Soap. It's rosemary lavender. And apparently it's made with lanolin, the natural wool grease removed from wool during processing. Lanolin makes a delicate and seriously nourishing soap for both woolen goods and sensitive for skin. So you rub your wool, whatever you're washing, you rub this on it, or you lather up your hands and put it into the sink. And I'm gonna try that. But look, it's so cute. And the only other thing I bought while I was there, I saw so many wonderful things. They have really beefed up the things, the new yarn that they put in the shop. But I had been admiring this Rifle Paper Company fabric. I actually think I want to make a dress out of it. And they had it as a fat quarter. So I bought that with this color here to make a project bag. That's really pretty. So I'll do that when I get back home. So that's Rifle Paper Company. I did bring my sewing machine, and I'll share with you now a little bit about what I brought to work on sewing, which I haven't been as faithful with as I should have been. My daughter's been working the last few days, so I've just been kind of hanging out around the house and just trying to lay low and be quiet because she works at night. She's a pediatric nurse, and I try to be quiet during the day. So I've been doing a little bit of sewing, a lot of knitting, and I brought two things to work on while I was here. And my time is almost up, so I don't think I'm going to finish them. But I had bought this Hepworth pattern back when I was here Christmas time, and it's basically just a hard wearing apron, and it has French seams, patch pockets, and I just think it will be something to wear around over jeans maybe while I'm working around the house cleaning, or I don't know. I'll have to see. It was very appealing to me when I was there Christmas. I'll have to see what it looks like on me. So I bought that. I brought that to sew on, and I'm just about finished with it. And then I had also bought this pattern from Tilly and the Buttons. It's called Bettine. Now, I will tell you, I don't like what this looks like as much as I like what it looks like when I see it on people. But I basically thought it would be a nice little summer dress to wear around. And I had bought in January this lovely Rifle Paper fabric. It's a lawn print. So, and I got quite a bit of it, more than what the Bettine dress calls for. Now, what I love about Rifle Paper Company, this is in the menagerie. It's screen printed. It's from Japan, and it's screen printed fabric. So I'm thinking I might give this a little bit longer. I'm not sure I want to use this pattern for that. I think this would look very good with a denim chambray pattern, just more casual maybe. This is a little bit dressier. So if you have any good pattern ideas, shoot them my way. I'm always looking out for new patterns. So that is my sewing. Now I will just chat with you a little bit about my visit here. The first day that I got here, we went to the zoo, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was everybody, they were wearing shorts, it was spring-like, and it was just glorious. And we walked a lot. They had just had a sloth gave birth. And we spent probably a good half hour in the room that the sloth was in. It's kind of like a rainforest room, I guess you would say, kind of like a sun room maybe. And there were a lot of birds in there. And the birds were very, very excited because it was feeding time for the sloth. And we watched a very, very patient zoo worker try to get that sloth down out of the tree to be fed. And what he would do, which was very interesting, was he would tap on the tree to get the sloth to move towards the sound. Tap, and it would move just a little bit more. And they moved so slow. And it was just so much fun to watch. It carried the baby underneath her. The baby was holding on underneath her. And it probably took a good 30 minutes to get that sloth all the way down the tree and to the other side. And the birds were just squawking up a storm and flying around. It was like they were saying, look, look, the sloth is moving, the sloth is moving, look, 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 the sloth is being fed. But we really enjoyed that. And what else did they have? We watched an elephant show, and we watched a very, very old elephant with a very, very young elephant. And that was interesting. Anyways, our first day was really lovely. We were very tired. I was not used to the altitude. And so I was just tired by the end of the day. And so after that, the next days, it snowed. It snowed a lot. They're big flakes, and it was nice to get back and have some snow. And it's springtime, so the snow. The next days, it snowed. It snowed a lot. They're big flakes, and it was nice to get back and have some snow. And it's springtime, so the snow stayed on the ground, but it did not stick on the streets. It melted pretty fast. But there's a good 3 inches here. Up in the mountains, they got a lot more. But I went to my old, I went to Florissant, where I used to live, and I stayed with my neighbor who lived behind me in my old house, or down the mountain just a little bit, which is always a little bittersweet because I could look up and see my house. And that was my all-time favorite house. I loved everything about it. And so there's a real bittersweetness seeing it. And my neighbor told me that they had made some improvements on the house. And the real estate market is really hot here in Colorado right now. And that house has gone up. It's almost doubled in price. And we sold it for more than what we bought it for. So I don't think we could ever even come back and afford to even live there now, which made me kind of sad. But we are wanting to downsize with our next move, so we'll see. It won't be for a while. We're really committed to stay in Texas and help my parents out while we can. So we went to a game night that night at her house. The church that I went to had a game night at her house, and that was a lot of fun. The next day, my husband was able to have breakfast with a lot of his old friends, and I had some of my fiber friends come over, just a couple of them, and that was quite fun. And I was really inspired by Sherry. Sherry's the one that is going to knit the Colorado Sunrise shawl, my Mad Hatter shawl that I'm designing. She's going to test it for me in colors that she's dyeing that match the Colorado Sunrise. And she was on another project, which I so want to do. Sherry, she inspires me when I'm around her. So what she is doing, she's taken Susan B. Anderson's cute little pattern of sheep, 3 sheep. I'll put a picture in right here. And Sherry's doing a breed study. So she just finished a Gotland sheep, and she took fiber, Gotland fiber, and she spun it, and she plied it, and she knit this cute little Gotland sheep. Well, I really want to do that now. This pattern is so cute. I would like to spin some Shetland wool for the Fair Isle sheep. Anyways, I want to do that. We'll see if I do it, but I would like to do that. I think that's fun. That will be a learning experience. So let's see what else. So the temperature had dropped and it got a little cool here, and I did not bring I didn't bring wool socks. So I had to raid my daughter's sock drawer, but I was down in her laundry room and I saw these socks. And I came up, I said, Allison, these are so cute. These are handmade. Did one of your friends give these to you? And she just looked really puzzled. She said, no, Mom. You made those. And I said, no, I don't ever knit cuffs this short. These are like felted socks. And she said, well, the cuff used to be twice as high, Mom, and they kind of shrank. I was like, oh. And now my daughter is very knit-worthy. And she did not do this. She does not normally do this, but this got stuck. She said it got stuck in with some of her clothes. But I have noticed a lot of her socks are a little felted. So I may have to find a pattern and felt them before I send them to her. So anyways, I found a lot of socks that have gone missing from my house in her drawer. We are heading back to Texas, and then I will be coming back in 2 weeks after that to stay here for a week while my daughter travels. And that will be some time where I will get to really go to some yarn shops, and I will have a purpose if I go. I will not randomly buy things. And I'll get to see some of my fiber friends. Now, the last thing that I did last night, I signed up for the Curious Handmade Impressionist Knit-Along because, as you probably may have figured out if you've been watching me a while, I am very much a conceptual knitter, which means I love concepts. And this particular knit-along She has asked, it's called the Impressionist Knit-Along, after the Impressionist painters in the 1800s. I had bought some Uschita. I've shown you on other podcasts that yarn I bought, and I was really going to resist this. I really had full intentions of not getting involved in any knit-alongs this year because they stressed me out a little bit. Got a lot on my plate right now, and I thought, well, let me just rummage through, because she said find an impressionist picture that you like and pick the colors in that painting. Pick the colors in that painting as your yarn. You need 3 yarns. And Kristen of Woolenvine, the Yarngasm podcast, has collaborated with Helen in dyeing up some yarn. And so I really was feeling like I wasn't going to do this until I found a picture. I just started looking at pictures online, paintings. And I found this one, and it immediately reminded me of those 3 skeins of yarn that I've been trying to find a shawl for. And I think I will do it. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to even try to keep up with the clues, because I need to finish the surprise party shawl really bad, and I need to finish my Diamond Viz. I need to cast that off. And then when those are done, then I will go ahead and start on this. I will not try to keep up with anybody, or but I love the whole idea of that. So I'm kind of rambling here, so I think I will tell you goodbye. Thank you for stopping by. Think about subscribing if you enjoyed this, or giving it a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And as always, I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm enjoying getting to know you. Remember what Elizabeth Zimmerman said. She said, in the rhythm of the needles, there is music for the soul. And all of us knitters know exactly what that means. So you guys take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.